I want to talk about this because it's not something that I've ever heard anyone talk about, and that is surviving a sociopathic mother. So, the technical term would be antisocial personality disorder, and people don't usually get diagnosed with this unless they commit horrific crimes. So, these people that have this disorder largely go undiagnosed, and they're just usually referred to, in my opinion, as probably borderlines or bipolars. I'll use the word sociopath even though it's not technically a DSM term, but I figured out my mother's a sociopath fairly recently after a lifetime of knowing something was wrong with her. It's the complete lack of empathy that you will notice as a child. Like, as a child, I would remember being sick and just never having empathy, and I would wish that I could put my mother inside my body so she could see how I felt, because I feel like I wasn't being believed that I was sick. That was just one of the things. Of course, she was very abusive, physically abusive, verbally abusive, financially abusive. Sociopaths only care about appearances. They only care about how they appear to other people. And I think what keeps them in line is the fear of judgment from other people. So they follow the laws and everything, and then they also have their family systems that shame them into doing the right thing. So my mother, she had a very large enmeshed family that would encourage her to, quote, do the right thing, keep your child clean, feed your child, put them in activities, etc. She wasn't doing this because she wanted to. They do things because they know they have to look like a good person. And then conversely, they also treat anything you do as an insult to them. Like, you are an extension of the sociopath, as if you're this child. So you can easily embarrass them. You can easily damage their reputation, and they will take it out on you. They will take out pure anger out on you. I was also put in very dangerous situations as a child where I could have died, and I do think that she had fantasies about me dying, and I think that the reason for that is just the pure sympathy she thought she would get from other people, and that was a fantasy that she had. She would often tell me things like, "You probably have cancer," and then she would laugh, and always taking me to the doctor so much to the point of the doctor telling her that she did not need to bring me to the doctor for every little thing. So there was a little bit of Munchausen's by proxy going on there too as well. So sociopaths, they do not know how to react. They have to study people because they don't feel normal emotions. They don't feel normal happiness. They just compare what they have to other people. So they don't feel normal happiness or joy. They are completely empty. They have to study your emotions and how you react. And I really think that my mother would have no respect for me because I was a sensitive child. She probably did not understand why I was not fighting back, and she probably grew to resent me. And also because I was a girl and I was competing for my dad's attention against her. So one thing she would do is she loved to talk about very horrible, sad things that would happen. And I think just because she liked to study how I would react, and she also liked to make me upset. They get off on that because they are so miserable all the time. They don't know why they're miserable. They like to make other people miserable. So she would, if anything bad happened with anything innocent, like animals or children, she would just talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and say, "Oh, how terrible, it was a terrible thing," and then just so depressing, like, "Stop talking about this, it's terrible, I don't want to talk about this for like 5 days in a row." She would just be the first one that would be something she could not wait to tell you, okay? And she would just be like, "Yeah, isn't that horrible?" And meanwhile you're feeling the horror from it, but she's not feeling the horror from it. She's getting off on your reaction to it. And how can your mother be sociopathic? Well, not all sociopaths commit crimes, and that's more of like a psychopath. But not all sociopaths are just torturing people and things like that. They are performing a role that they feel they were put on earth to perform. And when no one is looking, they will steal, they will lie, they will do things they know they're not supposed to do when no one's looking. And do they love? No, they do not love. They form attachments. They have attachments to their children. They they may enjoy your company. They may enjoy the attention that you bring them, the accolades you bring them. When you have accomplishments, they claim that as their own. They claim all the credit for it. They like having the company. They like having you around. Just so that's they look at you as like a favorite sweater. They don't love. They don't experience love. And how did I realize she was a sociopath? Well, I always knew something was wrong, and I always knew they are almost like possessed. They have like almost possession. She is obsessed with me, controlling me, knowing everything that I'm doing. Okay, so there's that, and then there's also just different situations that how you can just tell that they are not reacting like how a normal person would react once you learn a little bit more about these personality disorders. So my sibling went through a very horrible, traumatic thing, and when she called to tell me, she was almost calling to just tell me that it was going to rain that day. That's how she treated it. She was not having the appropriate reaction to this situation, and I was. So I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. And she was like, yeah. And they just don't react. They just think about how the situation's going to affect them. That's all they think about. They may performatively act like, if people are watching, they may performatively act certain ways around the situation, but they don't care. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And really just how I put the nail in the coffin for me and the confirmation that I needed was when my grandparent died, and this was her mother, and she brought me to the casket, and she was just looking at me. She was looking at my face and not just completely void of emotion. She was studying how I was reacting to seeing my dead grandmother in the casket. And they don't have appropriate reactions, or they don't have appropriate relationships with their children. If no one is looking, she doesn't really have a relationship with me. She only does what she needs to do to keep up appearances, and then she has to go tell somebody about it, that she came to see us, that she did this, that she did that. She doesn't really care. She will never give $1. She will never give help. Maybe occasionally, but for the most part, 99.9% of the time, no. She's just very concerned with the way things appear, but if anything is going to be going in her pocket, that's an automatic no. Even if it's something that is yours, she will take from you just to have, and so you don't have. And she is diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is not, and these disorders cannot be treated because they will never admit to having these feelings because they're socially conditioned to know that these feelings are wrong. So really, when they get treated for anything, it's just getting treated for their depression that they experience in life just from being miserably empty. And that was something that I have survived. I'm proud to be a survivor of it. I can't go public with my identity because I'm stalked by these people, and there's no way that I could ever speak my truth without being relentlessly harassed. So I wish I could go public, but there's just no information out there about this stuff. And I also grew up in the home with a not a sociopath, a psychopath. And that was very difficult, but he was not in the home for really that many years, and we just did not have a relationship. But he was a psychopath, and that involved, killing pets that I had, and just having sadistic fantasies that he would try to act out, and with animals, and he would try to act it out any way he could through like art, artistic ways. And I think he just was obsessed with serial killers and things like that, and just not like from the passive entertainment way, but envious that he couldn't do that to someone. Okay, so that's my experience. That's just a brief introduction to having a sociopathic parent, and I might speak more on it if anyone is curious. I don't really know at this point what else I would say. There's just so many little stories that if I told, it would just seem like I was complaining, and that, separately, if you hear a story of this or that, it seems like you're just complaining and that you're making things up. But the childhood that I had was very abusive, and I feel lucky to have survived it. And I just know there's so many people out there that go through this, and maybe I could make a video on what I think creates a sociopath. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.